not talking about anything.
Oh, there we go. What's up, guys? How's it going? Welcome to the stream scene. I hope you guys are doing well. We are going to be talking about the creative section or sections on Twitch. Basically, the state of creative as it is today in comparison to what it has been, because it's definitely changed a lot, especially in the last year. So I'm joined here by my lovely co-host, the Hunter Wild. Hunter, how you doing? Over here. Hey.
Hi, friends. Okay, I do have good reason to be uniquely excited about today's stream. So, as you can imagine, I'm uniquely excited about today's stream. The stream scene today covering the creative directory, as Loco said. A lot has happened in... How long has it been since creative's been around?
Officially?
3 years?
4 years.
4 years.
It was announced in October of 2015.
Wow.
Because I remember the day I was at Disney and so mad that I was not streaming.
I think I remember you talking about this last time.
I was like, but what? You have to wait till I leave.
And it's gone all over the place. And it continues to have this shifting presence that gets talked about and discussed pretty regularly. And so today's the what we want to dive into today is the general current state of creative. So we are joined by two fantastic broadcasters to walk us through this and to share their perspectives, which are pretty deep on this particular subject. Two friends of mine, Imperial and BanzaiBaby. Hello, our friends. I almost said my friends, but then I wanted to switch it up. Hello, our friends. How are y'all doing today? And if you wouldn't mind introducing yourselves one at a time and let us know who you are, what you do, why you're here.
Who first? Me? Okay, me.
I never say who should start.
Okay.
I always
Hunter
just
loves to
like
let them figure it out. Like
John Campo, we too much late. Okay, I guess. Hello. I am BanzaiBaby. I do mostly for creative woodworking and cooking on the weekend, and stuff. And I'm mostly loud. That's me. I'm loud.
Perf.
Me too.
Is that true?
Oh, yeah, I'm pretty loud. Oh, she also is loud, but it's in the best of ways.
maybe we should have called this the loudest episode of the
Loudest
stream
episode.
scene.
I think that could be like a part 2.
That's actually
Right.
after the show, during the Patreon post-show recording.
Yeah.
Just loudness.
Patreon exclusive. I
Right.
wish upon this stream to be loud.
Oh my gosh, that's the best thing. Where did you get that?
That's so
At
cool.
Ren Fair.
Of course.
That
you
is
did.
amazing.
I need.
Sorry.
That's okay.
It's so twinkly.
A lot of props.
It is.
It's twinkly. It's
I'm
my
Imperial though. Hi. I was like, wait, I should get us back on track because I
Hi,
probably have
Imperial.
something to say.
Hi.
Hi. I am a creative streamer. I do mostly sewing. I also bake. And I don't know, anything that sounds fun, I generally try to do. I play some games, but it's mostly during the week. Flat sewing. Well, yeah, that's pretty. Yeah. Sometimes I have moments where I'm just burned out and I'm like, oh, no more sewing.
Yeah.
And then I play games for 3 weeks and everyone's like, oh, you're never going to sew again.
So on
that's-
average, like how much time do you guys spend doing the creative stuff on Twitch versus like, gaming, which is like was originally the core of Twitch?
7 hour. Wait, no. Do I do? Wait, hold on. 10, 11, 12. 6 hours of Monday through Friday. 6 hours dedicated. Or Monday through Tuesday. Sorry, I changed my schedule. 6 hours dedicated to just woodworking for myself, and then on the weekends I just like break up like maybe 5 hours of cooking, and then after that I just play video games. Marbles.
I do Monday through Friday. Weekday is supposed to be creative content. Sometimes my Monday is flexible. Like if I'm just burnt from a weekend or I don't have anything prepped, I'm like, oh, games. Guess what? No sewing. But I try to do at least, so that's 3 times 4 is 12, like probably 12 plus hours a week of sewing / creative content. And then either I swing in Mondays, but then if I do nights or weekends, those are almost exclusively games.
Okay. And you guys started before there was like an actual creative section on Twitch, right?
It was a selectable category, but it
Mhm.
wasn't anything official. That's correct. I did. And Banzai, you did too.
I did, but it was actually my business. And I played like Binding of Isaac at first because I was really into that during the time. And then somebody was like, oh, hey, creative section is a thing. And I was like, what? There's what? And so, because I only joined a month before the creative section was actually live. I joined November of 2015 when I started streaming. So lucky beats smart. I got in at the right time, and I was like, let me kill two birds with one stone, and actually, like, you know, while I'm building these toys, make like, you know, just show that I can do woodworking. I guess.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well, okay, so that something that occurred to me right in the middle of this is how I so very often, it's a bit of a meta moment. I so very often assume that everybody else has the same awareness of the platform that I do. So, for the sake of people who have not been around for like 6 years or whatever, let's take a brief tour, and I mean like actually brief, which means I have to keep myself locked in here. A brief tour through the history of Twitch itself. Correct me if I'm wrong. Starting with Justin TV, it was a very open platform. Like you could do kind of anything within some reason on Justin TV. Then within that, a major burgeoning element became gaming. I think specifically like competitive style stuff, but also there's a lot of variety up in there. And that became like the biggest portion of Justin. So it broke off and became its own independent entity, which became Twitch. And then Twitch existed on its own for 3 years, maybe longer, before it became acquired by Amazon in
14?
late 2014. November 14th, 2014, I think.
Yeah, I think Twitch was established just before
11th,
2010,
so 3 years.
right?
June 16th, 2011.
2011.
Says Wikipedia.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was around for 3-4 years, 3.5 years before the acquisition by Amazon. And then that happened, and it was like a big deal, but then nothing really came of that by itself. Like it wasn't a major
Not
transition
initially, yeah.
all at once. Yeah, it was slow.
Sorry, it's my phone.
Oh, I was like, is this an intentional thing?
And I can't get my mouse. Sorry, hold on.
And then from there that was completely video game focused, even to the point that it was discussed pretty often, even to the point that people who were streaming things that weren't video game related were getting the boot.
Yep.
Then they started introducing other categories and directories. And to my recollection, the big shift in that was creative itself. So they had like the talk show thing that you get, but like there's no attention. There wasn't any official support there. When creative came out, it was a big official formal thing. It was everywhere. It was blasted out. Everybody knew that it was becoming a thing. And y'all were here for this, right? How was that transition for you? And how do you think it affected the platform broadly? Like, were people really excited about it? Were a lot of people like really anxious and like concerned, like, oh, it's going to destroy, you know, the sanctity of a gaming platform? Or how did it work from inside versus outside perspectives there?
So you're talking about, just because I had that rude interruption.
Oh yeah.
So you're talking about how, like, when creative was announced, like how'd that work?
Because I want to get an idea of what creative was like and the transition into creative from Twitch not having that, what it was like then, in order to really establish that kind of that base level to talk about what it's like today, you know, and what those differences feel like to you. So this is where I kind of wanted to you know, ease into it.
So when I started, like I said, there was no, like, you could select it, but I had never heard of it. And I had a staff member actually say, like, of course there's the domestic Dan cooks on Twitch. And I was like, what? And so I decided I would start trying to sew. And it was a combination of people being very interested in it and the inevitable, why I'm going to report it like every day, reported for non-gaming content. You can look, I'm in a category that Twitch assigned. I can do this. No, you can't. lots of arguments, like or like banning just immediately like go away. But we would try to educate people, like, oh hey, no, this is here now. And then when Creative was launched, we were able to point to Bob Ross, because that's how they launched Creative, was the Bob Ross Marathon.
Oh yeah.
Yes. So that got so much press attention. And that first run of the Bob Ross Marathon was huge, absolutely huge. They used to do Bob Ross raids every Monday night to Creative streams that would sometimes make, like, put a Creative stream on the map. It was amazing. Bob Ross raids were legendary in Creative, like follows all night long from getting one. And the unfortunate thing was for that is that it didn't really change a lot of awareness. Well, Bob Ross is one thing, but you can't sew on Twitch. And sometimes I still get that, like sewing on Twitch, LOL. Like, okay, that's fine. I'm doing it, so you don't right? But there is a that still stigma and perception that I find today that was still there 4 years ago of Twitch is just for gaming. Yeah, Twitch is only for gaming. So that's what I thought. So the transition hasn't been that huge.
Yeah, there's always people that says, oh, hey, this is different, so it's ruining. It's obviously ruining the platform because of X, Y, and Z, because different makes me scared. I think before, I used to actually build things in a, related to a game and then put myself in that game category. Just to be like, hey, yeah, no, it says on the rules that as long as it's involving with the game, I can put myself in that category.
Yeah.
So you do have a lot of these people that just come in and they're like, this isn't exactly the game that I was expecting. But I'm like, it is, because I'm making something towards the game, especially if I do like cosplay replica, like weapons and something like that. And there was that like initial push that, hey, because this is like creative and they're like, oh no, this is only a video game website. It was a very hard push, even though there was like Twitch had a very dedicated team in the beginning when creative was first launched. That has now been dissolved. And that was something special. Like no game category had a team dedicated to it, or like one category on Twitch. Yeah. So
And this was also when IRL streaming or just chatting wasn't a thing. Like I believe creative and IRL came about the same time. So
IRL was a long time after, like even
was it?
Yeah, like over a year.
Easily. Yeah, 3 or 2 years. I think IRL came out 2 years afterwards.
1 to 2.
Between creative, it wasn't that close.
So creative was like the first step that Twitch made towards moving away from like just gaming content to starting to accept other types of streaming content.
Yeah.
So that was like probably why I was met with like such big like lashback, right? Like people are just like, what? Like Twitch is changing all of a sudden? Like what is this? Like and you still see this today. And IRL and just chatting is like is the biggest category on Twitch now. Like there are people that just do just chatting now. So it's kind of crazy, like, but now we have like, obviously we'll get into it later, but we have the change of creative and how that's gone and how that's differed so much from the way IRL has gone. But yeah, so you mentioned that there was like a dedicated staff and people were getting partnered just off creative. Like it kind of felt like it was his own little corner of Twitch.
It was, we had different guidelines.
It was. We did. We had different standards and guidelines, and then it was a small enough category that like we just all like creative in the very baby stages. All creative friends knew the other creative folks, and so it would be that like circle, that tight knit, kind of like almost clicky. It didn't want it to be clicky, but it ended up because the gamer side was like, oh, you're just creative folks.
Right.
And this is the period now, what it was before. It's not like that nowadays. Now everybody intermingles, but I'm like, no, I actually do play video games, but I also just like doing creative stuff. And they're like, oh, there are some people that looked down on you because you are a creative partner.
Well, and it wasn't even just people. It was also, and I don't want to like nag this entire thing, but there was also a feeling within Twitch that creative, like, look at, I don't even, is Twitch still doing Twitch Partner Spotlight? It's an excellent question for another time. So Twitch Partner Spotlight was something that, highlighted a Twitch partner every week. I think there's been 2 creative partners. And to the point where when I asked about it, excuse me, the first time I like heard about it, I was like, okay, how do I get on that list? Oh, well, you're a creative partner. They don't put creatives on that. Well, no, I don't have a different contract. Right. And so there was a lot of things, and like we'd hear, oh, well, you didn't get partnered at the same numbers. Okay, well, not all of us did, but some of us did. Some of us got partnered at like I was never told there were different numbers, and I know some people were, and it's not a knock on anyone at all. But there was an inconsistent application because you had a category you were trying to grow. And you wanted to have partners representing that category. So I was the first one who was sewing on Twitch with any kind of regularity. I had an audience, but it was bonsai, woodworking. Like she had numbers, but she still was also the first like person who was sewing. People who were the first in their category and had a measurable audience almost definitely got partnered.
Yeah.
And it was an interesting thing to see because it also attracted gaming streamers who weren't yet partnered, who would start doing creative for a couple of weeks, get partnered, and then never create again.
Oh, wow.
So that created also a lot of, it was difficult to identify the category because sometimes it would be like that I thought that person was a creative streamer and they're not. And it added a whole level of like, I hate to use the click word, but there was okay, well, is this a real creative streamer? Like, I don't care if you're trying it, but please stay with us because we like you.
Yeah. And yeah, like chat is saying, it was called the easy partnership route. And that I mean, it kind of like belittles the work that we have done, because a lot of creative setups, like, a lot of gaming setups have a really elaborate setup. Not to put down gaming, but we have to like work with more cameras, more angles, moving around and kind of stuff. And it's like, no, wait, like we're still here, we're still a thing, but it's kind of like, how it's hard to build those numbers when everything is so niche. That's the one thing about creative. Every single creative channel is their own little significant niche. Like if you were to play a niche video game and do that, it's the same kind of thing. Like you have to like heavily build on the person that you are and your personality more, I feel like, in creative. Like we have people who like, not saying that like it's not normal or something like that, or bashing on anybody, but it's mostly a lot of people, because artistic types, quote unquote air artistic types, tend to live or like put their heart on the sleeve. Our artsy types are very passionate people, and we're very like in many ways we try to be like ourselves in the quintessential part. Like there's some people like that put on a persona. It's very hard to do that when you're in a creative corner, because you're like, and then things go wrong and you have to panic,
So it was, let's see, let me check the date on this post, October 2018, when Twitch made a couple changes, and they changed IRL to just chatting and a couple other separate channels, and they also broke down creative into what is this?
Three different categories:
makers and crafting, art, and music.
Okay.
Oh, and I'm sorry, 4, food and drink.
Oh yeah, 4. There's 4 categories.
I see also beauty and body art. I don't know if
that is right, because no one ever uses it, but yes, that's right.
Yeah,
that was
I only ever see them in like K-Pike fashion, for example, art or just chatting.
Okay.
And it was because art. We had there were many conversations about that. Many with staff. I still continue to have conversations with staff about the
category.
Yes, the categories. It was coupled with the breakup of the final breakup of the creative team at Twitch. Most everybody had moved on, but it was kind of the announcement that had happened. Like there's no more because we had our own staff that were dedicated to us, and it was fantastic, but we also took advantage of that. And I don't think we didn't make it worth it, right? Like I've heard a lot of creative streamers have said, and I'm famous for this, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna, like, I don't pull the punches with it, which is fine, but I see gamers at like PAX, for example, TwitchCon, working their tails off, right? Meeting with vendors and having no free time and start to finish working to get sponsors, to bring sponsors, to grow not only their stream, but it also helps grow Twitch. I saw so many creative streamers that had an opportunity to do that and did not. Like, I don't think we delivered on the whole. Some people did, right? Not just me, but other people like really worked with lots of people. But on the whole, the category was very much like, I'm just waiting for my stuff.
Do you feel like that was because you guys had a direct contact with Twitch, so you felt like you had some leverage because you had people dedicated to the section?
Yeah, I mean, it felt like because they were growing us, and it's not even a malicious statement per se, right? It's even like they were there, like trying to help us, and then suddenly there was no real expectation for us to fly on our own. They just weren't there anymore.
Yeah,
and it was it was fledgling.
It's very hard because also a lot of these people, like I tried working the circuit and try using as much as I can because I do apply like my business sense before going into things. And the issue was that I was trying to talk to these developers. I did a couple of build projects, but it's very hard for them to understand how to promote their game using like basic, like, hey, Twitch creative, we can make you things. We can actually make you real life game props and send it to you or give it to charity. And it was very hard to have that discussion. And also with sponsorships, like me trying to explain to power tool people that Twitch is a thing and it's not just for video games. Like, it was kind of hard. Like, I do wish that I used more of that team and maybe pushed a little bit more of my special like event streams, because overall, like, if you want to go ahead and push for that like bigger, like, hey, look I'm here, you have to really do event streams.
Right. You know. Well, and then you have companies like Omen does a lot of, like, they sponsored a whole bunch of the first TwitchCon. As a creative entity, I don't know that we ever kind of sold our value, right? Like, why is it worth it for Omen to sponsor a creative stream? I think it is. I think it is for all of us. We're using computers, right? Like, we need computers to do what we do. And I feel like we also, in our infancy, were focused on so many things that it made it difficult for us to kind of wrap our hands around what needed to be done to keep our category kind of one whole thing. Because when they broke it up, it became even more of a challenge. Because we begged the only thing that we ended up having different from their plan was it was supposed to be hobbies and crafts, and then art. And Twitch did not seem to understand why we had a problem with that.
With hobbies,
everything is art. You can't, like, everything is art. Fine art, sure. Like painting, I get that. But it was either art or hobbies.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've been sewing for 35 years. It's not a hobby.
So so the team left at the same time, or was it right before?
It was before. They had been like absorbed into other areas of the company. Quite a few of them still work for Twitch.
Yes.
So you guys lose your creative support staff that were, partnering people and working with you guys. And then you have a category of creative broken down into 4 smaller subcategories. How did this affect creative as a whole? Was this a good thing or a bad thing, or like what changed at this time?
I think for a lot of people, it was very hard to get introduction to like new viewership. There's just so many people that were broken off into different areas. They didn't have the creative, what I used to call the creative carousel. Like, creative had its own front page kind of category. And it was just very hard to get that visibility, especially because there was like unique tags. And when somebody were to like, just how everything was kind of organized was like very like, oh my God, where do we go? And a lot of people were also making that jump and confusion between doing just chatting and art. There was like some of those like overlapping where you could put yourself in 2 different categories at once. And that was a lot of confusion going on. And it was more or less like people were trying to figure out where to jump to. as a landing pad.
Right. It seems like
Well,
it
and
also diluted the category as well.
There's I feel like it did. I don't know that that's the truth of it because there hasn't been anything published that says these categories have grown
Mhm.
by X amount with that change. I think it's interesting because we had asked Twitch, right? Like, where would you put woodworking or sewing or makers and crafting? Said, what's going to happen if I stream an art? Nothing. I stream an art. Right. So the categories are also somewhat, it's skewed, right? And you have, I mean, I looked it up while we were here. Did I close it? I probably. Art has like 3 times the amount of viewership right now.
As opposed to
makers and crafting. I'm sorry. Yes.
Makers and crafting.
Yeah. And then food and drink has 830. It's hard to sell your stream if you're in a category with 830. Like, that's it. Well, and 170 of those are the Hungry channel.
The other factor, of course, is people being there for the creator and or community and or stream itself versus the category, right? Because I mean, like, I see this all the time and I'm like, oh, what should I play today? Maybe I'll base my decision on metrics and I'll go look at games and I'll see some game I've never heard of before that has like 5,000 people watching. And I'm like, whoa, did that just launch? And it launched like 8 years ago, and there's just like one streamer who's streaming it with 5,000 people, right?
Right.
Yeah.
If I went and got into that category, that streamer gets offline, I don't get any of those views. That's not somebody who's like, ooh, I want to see so much more of this. It's like they were only there for that one person. And that is also true, I assume, in categories, in other creative categories. If somebody who is a gaming-centric streamer then goes and streams themselves cooking something, those aren't people who are then going to intrinsically filter out into the rest of the category, right?
Right.
So even then, like, the numbers you should like chop that down a bit to look at like what's practically valuable in those categories.
Right. Yeah. And I get it. Streamers have to do what's best for them. But like, when I sew, I try to, I mean, I go back and forth because I know a lot of people on the platform, it's 4.5 years in, but especially when I was newer, it was, let's find another sewing streamer. Right, expose let's expose, and especially if I'm rated by a gaming streamer. Hey, look, there's other people. Come look. But the not many people who do what you mentioned raid within that category.
Yeah.
Or even talk about the category. It's just we're just going to cook today, and just FYI, it's a thing I'm doing.
Yeah. So it feels less like a community than it did before when there was just one category.
Absolutely.
Yeah, when it was one category, everybody would it's one quick click to find who you want to go ahead and hang out with. And like, as long as hey, creative is like, we just knew, okay, everybody just does art here or something like that. But I do think, at least from my understanding, when that broke up, we did see a lot of people, music is like, even from YouTube, analytics has always been a very easy category to get into in terms of like boasting those numbers, because universally throughout all cultures, music is very easily to connect to, very easy to see and see results done quickly, versus things that take time to build, to paint, to make, to cook, take a little bit more attention span than an immediate satisfaction is how I view it. Because like, people don't realize how long things take to make.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And so you lose that attention. It's like how I theorize, like a lot of Twitch use it. You want to go ahead, when you get rated, you got about 15 to 30 seconds to do a magic moment and to hook an audience member to watching your stream. And when you're busy working on something and you're like getting rated and you're trying to not make your fingers get cut off, it's very hard to attract people to stay when you don't have the ability to put that magic moment in 15 seconds.
Right. I mean, Banzai and I both work with equipment regularly that has like death warnings on it.
Yeah.
Like, my sewing machine is literally like, this will end you if you're not careful. Because I have behind me like a big industrial one. And that one will eat a finger in a heartbeat.
And oh yeah, because you mentioned chat visibility. I have when Twitch first broke up on creative, I spent a few of my savings to advertise on different websites to bring people into creative. I've done it. I did paid advertisement on Twitter, and on Reddit and a bunch of other sites as well to see if I can bring people in. But it's very hard to convince people to be like, hey, you know?
So, and so one of the ways that people find new streamers is by browsing a category. Like that's how I function on Twitch, is go to the directory and I look at like what's listed as the top games and stuff like that. And I think like when you break up one section of creative, now you have all these other smaller channels, like it becomes harder because like if I want to watch something, like someone doing something unique, I want to go to one category and kind of see what's around and not like be like, oh, do I want to watch beauty and body art, or do I want to go to makers and crafting, right? Like I think new people that want to get into creative don't know what they're looking for. So now instead of like having one category that is potentially higher up on the listing, it gets harder to find when it's broken down to smaller ones. And now you're just not, you don't know what you really want, right?
I just checked that, by the way, like how many rows I would have to go down to find it. After scrolling by Barbie and the Magic of Pegasus, it's 2 rows down, 3 rows down. Seriously, yeah. I mean, it's under Dota Underlords and poker. Like these are, I mean, you have to get that far deep to find art. But if you added makers and crafting that were in it right now, it would be up near 11, and it would be like Darkest Dungeon and Overwatch.
Yeah, when creative was one section, it would be regularly in the top 10 categories, and that made it very visible. Although there have been people that told me that scrolling, like depending, like putting yourself in a category and scrolling doesn't really change anything. But I think there is something to like, hey, if you're in a video, like in a given game, you have to gamify how you put yourselves in categories. It really does help.
Right. And I mean, you go to Overwatch and you're scrolling there too.
Yeah.
Right. And now with the new filters that the new sort bys they have in the categories recently started, high to low, there's a lot of great options to find people within categories if you get to the category. I'd also love to see that creative carousel come back for every category. Put it in Overwatch. Tag streams that have no strikes on the record and just put them up there. It'll make somebody's
That'd be
day.
awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
That'd be great.
This is interesting. I mean, so there's so many things that I compressed into like a 2 minutes. There's like 8 different things that I'm like, but tell me more about this. And hold on a second. There's a lot to extrapolate about that. Okay, so if it were possible, can y'all give an overall rating and brief description of your perception of the current state of creative? You give it a C minus. You give it an A.
Okay, grading.
Grading. I gotta think
So,
about
and
this.
you're saying like we're gonna overall it, right?
Yeah,
Overall,
like if you can throw it out there and give it a quick assessment of your perception of the current state of creative.
Yeah. Solid C minus. It's average, slightly below.
That's like me.
It's hard to find. Not suggested to people.
I guess maybe I'm differentiating because I'm an optimist in many ways.
Well, sure, that
was my optimistic
subjective, right?
That was totally
I just like this
for me.
is gonna be a lot. I know a lot of people don't agree with me on creative, but a lot of times I feel like the disbanding, like this is how I think about it in my head. Not a lot of people are gonna agree about this. Is that, hey, like yes, we had a team dedicated to us, but you know, at the same time, this is still like Twitch is still a business, and they kind of wanted to put like they pushed us on a bike and see if we can like go without the kiddie wheels. Is how that I usually see it. And there's still a lot of like, it is definitely sure that Twitch wants to do something with creative, but it's so like, how do you define a creative person? How do you define something that is abstract, that is modern, that can be anything essentially, that you put like dancing or anything like that, or singing or music? You know, there's just so much vastness to it, and it's hard to just label that down as one specific category. And when it was like, if like creative were to blow up in any sense, that would mean like it's harder for people to find specific things. I think that's what the initial was like, hey, let's break it down to different folks. That's why I give it like, it's a solid B, like a B in my category, because like there are the different sections that have blown up. Like there are like, for example, like music, a big thing that has blown up, and all of them are wonderful people. They I'm hoping that some of them get record deals, is really my heart of hearts. Some of them really do deserve record deals. And it is like, just because like people specifically wanted to look for music, that boom, they were able to grow and launch. And it's just very hard to define the difference between like art and crafting is really what is the bigger category between.
Yeah, I mean, having academically studied that myself, there's a lot of contention between the very nature of art and craft. And so that, like, how easily you can define a thing as craft, and then the public perception of craft itself, right? A lot of us think of arts and crafts as like finger painting and glue and glitter. And you can do amazing stuff with finger painting and glue and glitter. That's like proper art as well, right? But like, we tend to downgrade the idea as though those things are what children do. And so then immediately that public perception plays a really big negative role in our desire to want to seek it out. Yeah. So this is interesting. So that all being said, what do you think are key critical shifts that could be made that are actually feasible, that are actually possible? Not just the pipe dream stuff, because a lot of that does actually end up being considered, and we, a lot of Twitch does tend to look at what might be possible, and those big crazy ideas are often on the books for that and under consideration. But what do you see as real, manageable, feasible, even if it's just one, things that could be put into play to advance the state, to bring that grade up a little bit?
I have two things. Then they preach them all the time. Well, I preach one all the time. One is fix the category system. And to Banzai's point before, there actually was a music category even before there was a creative category. Music's had its own category for years and years. They got no traffic. And so they joined us in creative, and it still existed. So they just kind of moved them back. And I'm glad they did, because they were able to highlight it better in recent times. And I think that musicians on Twitch have flourished, and I love it. I love seeing it. I would love to see more of everything. I think that there is enough fish in the sea. There are billions of people on this planet. I look at the people who aren't watching Twitch as the opportunity, not like other people's like, oh, well, if they're doing this over there on Twitch and I'm doing this over here. No, get the other people, right? Which brings me to my other thing that I think they could do. We like, I work for Twitch. Twitch owns Amazon. They when they announced Prime,
but yeah.
My perfect world, right? When they announced Prime, the first thing I asked them was, are streamers going to start being featured on products? And they were like, what? I'm like, why? Okay, so you have a partner system. You have a trusted broadcaster system, right? And you can vet people.
Verification.
Why isn't it like, you want this power saw? BanzaiBaby's using that power saw live right now. Would you like to talk to her about it?
Yeah,
why are we not doing that?
It's right in the ecosystem. Why not?
It's so
that would be
like, and I've talked to them. The biggest thing is like, well, how do we vet people? How do you vet people now? You're letting us talk to the internet now, like, right? Like, you say, I'll pay you this much to do this. Okay, done it. You don't have to get 1 million people. You figure it out on a small scale, see if it works, go from there, right? Yeah. The fact that Amazon doesn't leverage Twitch more is disappointing, to say the least. And my mother is constantly on me about it. When are they gonna start advertising? You need more people. I'm like, Mom, first of all, thanks for being a cheerleader. But secondly,
Mom, you're right, but still.
Right, go to Jeff Bezos and talk to him. I don't affect change. I'm just doing my part here. I feel like if they leveraged Amazon more, and I just saw them starting to, like, I think it's Pokemon.
Pokemon?
Their name. Pokemon. And Myth are both doing some sort of thing with Amazon just very, very recently, like within the last 2 weeks. And I think that's great. More of that would fit. I mean, because can you imagine how many people are still like, what's Twitch? It's YouTube with live chat. Right? It would be great.
We're definitely seeing more of that too, like with the streamers starting to be able to stream like Amazon Prime movies and stuff. And, so Amazon's definitely bleeding into us, where we have like extensions for Amazon, stuff like that. But yeah, we're still looking for it to go the
Can
other
it go
way
the
too.
other way?
Right.
Yeah,
Like,
way
I mean,
too.
and it's been, how long is it? When did Twitch Prime launch? In 26, first San Diego Con, 2016?
sounds about right.
That's when the first time we had, and then you could tell I'm an Amazon Prime user, I'm a Twitch Prime user. So we've had I'd love to see, and I love the movies thing. That's so great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I totally I have been preaching to Twitch and Twitch staff to integrate it more. There's more behind the scenes that is between Twitch and Amazon side that stops that from happening, really is what it comes down to. But it is I've been the same thing as Imperial Girl preaching that we can't just keep feeding on ourselves like a continuous snake.
Right.
Way, especially to get people who introduce new people, new audience that is going through other means, other websites, advertising ourselves from on different sites, different areas. Like you can go to Joanne's Fabric and be like, bam, you want to watch somebody live make this, or hey, how about, do you want to actually see how this tool is being used? Click on this link to a live video that has it.
Yeah, that is
there
interesting.
has always been potential as long as I've been on creative. That has been something that we are continuous commercials or infamous commercials for a product that is given.
The challenge being those products are the biggest hurdle there. Yeah, I don't know. I know because I know Banzai's talked to them. Like I talked to McCall. I've talked to all these people, right? Joanne's is like an impenetrable fortress. Oh my gosh. Trying to get to Joanne's is I'm like, do you understand how much money I personally spend at your place?
Like some of them are just understanding Instagram now.
Oh yeah. But even McCall's flat out told me, I had a conversation with them. I was on Front Page that week. I'm like, I had 1,000 people watching me sew yesterday, and they were like, yeah, but our customer base is dying, so we don't know that that's a thing. What?
But if it's dying,
they won't. Right? Let me help you. If and it's a big they get. It's the weirdest thing because I've worked in corporate America. There's a little bit of an Eoring going on when it comes around Twitch and newfangled technology and we don't use that.
Yeah, especially for a lot of even licensing and agreements. Like I did my stint of trying to license and legally get a hold of cartoons to show on my, and let me tell you, that they don't understand how live streaming is. Just to talk to people in a legal sense, you gotta get yourself an entertainment lawyer. That's the closest person that you can. And even the entertainment lawyer that I got at the time, because I wasn't introduced to my lawyer friend at the time, but now no, but before it was I had to get somebody who is an entertainment lawyer specifically for film and music here in Seattle, and she had to do a bunch of research for a whole week to just talk to the people I wanted to talk to.
It's well, and then you have someone and I'm using him as an example. I don't know his details, so this is me hypothetically because which isn't that the word, but you know what I mean.
Hypothesizing.
It is right. Hypothesizing. Thank you. I am just, oh my God, you don't ever bite your tongue right before you have to talk to a bunch of people. So the Vulpin Props used to stream on Twitch all the time. Amazing caster, amazing crafter, does the League of Legends trophy every year. Big things. He's under NDA for 95% of the things he does now. So he's doing these really great, cool things, working with these amazing companies, and it's all under NDA because they don't see the value of creating the hype live with their product. And that's up to us as creators to really shift the tide because we're the only ones who can show them that value.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, so that being said, and y'all have been talking about the perception of the no shortage of the wealth of other brands that are connected and related. But what about third-party sites and other platforms and how those can be used in a certain way, leveraging what we have here with things like Patreon or moving certain highlights onto Instagram or creating Twitter specific content that then points back to creative things here, because there have been several things in the conversation here that have tied back into that. Getting people who have no relationship to Twitch onto the site in a non-gaming related fashion, right? All these people who just don't care about games, but we're doing more than games, right? So how do you get them from there to here? And what are other places? And I don't want this question to be exclusively about that, but what are other places that a creative streamer can take advantage of in order to really maximize their career and time spent on Twitch, or with this as their career itself?
There's always the viral, like the lightning in a bottle, the viral hit that you can get. For example, there are people that I know who got a big boost by creating things and posting them on Reddit as just like, hey, look at this thing I made, and then like they exploded in it, like, because there's good parts of Reddit. Let's be like, so people know there's good parts of Reddit. There's also like, you have to think of it in terms of a background marketing kind of campaign. Like you can put your stuff, like I think people are more used to looking at creative stuff on YouTube because you can cut it down, fast forward, and make it like boom, like here I'm doing this cut, but then bam bam 3 seconds later, boom, here or me getting scared. There's always bloopers. Like advertising yourself on those different platforms. I've been experimenting with TikTok itself because I saw the background numbers of how many percentage of viewers that they actually do get in this time period now. Like it's a whopping like Twitch gets 6% and TikTok now gets 3% of world global views. So
it's hard to
convert into value.
Yeah.
Because I mean, those are obviously not intrinsically tied. Sometimes they're directly connected, right? Where it's like the amount, like what your metrics are showing to like revenue or just gaining some like real popularity that you can then leverage later or elsewhere. Do you feel like things like this are actually doing that, or do they end up being empty numbers in the same way that you get empty calories from sugar? It's like it's delicious and you're all fueled and pumped up, and then you crash at the far side because it hasn't actually like fed you the nutrients. You know what I mean? I
feel like that's pretty much what it is. It's a sugar crash, right? I don't see the ROI. I think that TikTok is super fun. I think that if creators are having a great time on it, that's awesome. I think if you blow up and you become someone that is a personality on that site, then sure, it could drive people back to Twitch. But in the confines of the question of will this drive people back to my content, I don't know that TikTok. I think it's great. Oh, Banzai's gone. Oh no, Banzai!
Oh no.
She got really mad. She's like, TikTok. I love TikTok. F you. Forget about it. Forget about you. So.
Okay.
There she is.
All right, we're doing some live reshuffling here.
Perfect.
Don't mind me. Gotta move everyone around.
Hunter, yes, my dream has come true.
Yay!
There we go. What happened here? I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Did you see me just go, where's my phone? I don't know how to connect to Yeah, so sorry about that. I'm fighting with my internet provider.
Oh, that's
Look,
never
you're so
fun.
much faster at this now. This is great. You know what's happening when somebody drops out of the call. You're like, well, I know what I got to do. Okay, so it was an interesting. We were joking about you being upset and ditching out of the call. So conversing about the value of things like TikTok, do you think that they actually bring that they're more than empty metrics, that the numbers that you see, they're actually converted into something and or can be leveraged in a way that otherwise additionally adds value to your career, that propels you forward a little bit, that generates more revenue, or
absolutely,
the exposure matters in a certain way?
Yeah,
so,
I say, go ahead. You want to go first?
Instagram is a great I think of all the other platforms. Between YouTube, you have to repurpose your content for YouTube. Can you give me a second? But Instagram is much more like, and there's so much. Thank you, sweetheart. There's tags and things like that. She's very sweet. The tag, knowing how to having a strong tag game on Instagram can change your Instagram life, especially for a cosplayer.
Yeah.
There are like tag things like all month long we're going to do this, and people will follow that tag and they will just like and follow thousands of people Like Casey Renee cosplay. She won the Twitch cosplay contest last year. She gained like 1,000 followers last year doing a costume related October. Like instead of Inktober, it was basically Costume-tober. And you can really leverage your content just by photography, which is so much easier than video editing. That's I think your best entry point to jumping on another platform to try to help you on Twitch, because the barriers are low, right? There's you don't have to video edit. You don't have to know like all the ins and outs of that, and you can for Instagram
stream for 8 hours a day for 7 days a week in order to just make that entry.
Right, and you can drive people over because they will. No, you're fine. They will, if they enjoy who you are, the chances that you can give them other places to come for content are really great. Also, for creatives, YouTube, if you have the time, the effort, and the energy,
if you have it,
tutorials. Oh my gosh. Put those tutorials on, not just tutorials, right? But my next thing is reviewing all of my equipment. Why you should have, why I think you should have this, right? Like why you or why I don't think you should have this. Like it's all stuff I have. I don't have to pay for it. I have it all set up here. I can it just is a matter of finding the time to do it.
Right. And
YouTube,
you can put your Amazon affiliate link in it and then monetize it, right? Like
yep. Same thing with Medium articles. You do the same thing on Medium. Take the same content you make for YouTube. Right? Like I've done this YouTube thing about this iron. It's an iron, by the way. It's not like a big grilled cheese machine. I
thought that was way in the background.
No, this room is tiny.
Like feet back there.
Hunter, thank God for this camera. This room, people will come in this room and they're like, holy good gravy. That room is tiny.
Don't even talk to me about what people say about my shop. I'm like, yes, I am 5'1". This shop is dedicated towards my space. Like, I can't fit in here. I'm like, yeah, it's a 1-car garage. I told you dimensions. It's 10 by 24 feet. What do you want?
Oh yeah, this is 10 by 9 feet. This room, maybe.
All right.
Yeah, and that doesn't include the closet. Closet's closer. Anyway, but yeah, you can take your content from YouTube. And just write it in article form and put it on Medium. Same with the affiliate links and the.
That's true.
Petals. But yeah. But I think for now, just going back to what you were saying earlier, not to break the conversation. I don't think that as it is right now, like me doing some of these things, it's like how you start a business. You have to establish yourself. Like Twitter is a pretty good area that I can like grab and branch out to other sections. Instagram, another thing, just because I've had Instagram and I've had Twitter for a couple of years now, versus like if I were to try to start again on YouTube. I did get a lot of views on YouTube when I had the time to make stuff. And also when I had a mod who basically was like, hey, this is just a hobby for me. Let me edit videos for you. Thank you, Casino. Oh, it's so nice when you have those people. But then, of course, and it just, like, I think for me, one of the platforms, or especially like YouTube, I had like a stalker problem, and they created multiple accounts to just downvote my YouTube videos. So that was like, I'm going to go away from YouTube for a bit. But yeah, there is like, basically you have to build the audience. Like it does come to you over time. Like there's some people who are huge on Twitter, and they have lots of viewers on Twitch, but they're like, for some reason, they're not partnered yet.
Or even you have someone I'll never forget, like, and I won't name the site actually, but it's a really popular video creator on YouTube, and they have millions, like not just thousands, millions of subscribers, of video views rather, and 160,000 subs. And they decided they wanted to start doing Twitch. And they created an account, and they instantly got partnered because they had like the clout behind them.
Right.
I never saw them with more than like 8 people in their chat.
Wow.
What?
Yeah, it was the craziest thing I've ever seen.
I do see that with a couple of things. Like the one that first stood out to me was Cinnamon Toast Ken, who because I wasn't too familiar with YouTube itself, and I had seen him do some gaming stuff, and like the numbers were huge. And this is when I was just starting out on Twitch, just looking at stuff. And I looked at his, and I was like, how are these not matching up? Like, what seems so off kilter here? It's really interesting the way that dynamic sometimes works.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So circling back to Twitch, like if someone wanted to start from the ground up, or maybe they
Great question.
just started streaming and they play games and they want to get into creative, is it still viable to become a creative streamer? Like mostly creative?
I'm always going to say yes
Yeah.
because I love it. I think that it creative stream and I love playing video games on Twitch too. But
Mhm.
creative streaming, there is nothing more. I mean, artists look for validation. It's no
Mhm.
secret or surprise, right? That I mean, you're not create. You might create in a vacuum, but when you're done, you're like, "Hey, look what I made," and like you want people to be happy about it. It's the instant gratification cannot be like measured of
Mhm.
you making something and finishing it and people being like, holy moly. And add to it, if you make something that's for sale, someone immediately saying, not only do I
Yeah.
love your work, I want to own it.
Go buy it. Yeah.
Right?
There's
There
like
is
a lot
it
of-
doesn't matter if you have 10 people in your chat. Someone does that, your week is made.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a great feeling. You don't need to have the setups that Bonsai and I have. We have created
Yeah,
them
we
over
have a lot
years.
of,
We
yeah.
do. I think Bonsai, I think you picked the two people with the most enormous
Most elaborate, yeah, setup. I have
Twitch
now
setups.
one.
How many
I
cameras
have
do you
like
have?
6 cameras in total, 3 different four different stations, because I have one in the kitchen. I have a
Mhm.
green screen room now, and I also have the gaming room, and then I also have this one, and all of it is on a soundboard with like switching cameras everywhere. Yeah,
I have
it's a
8
lot.
cameras, 2 rooms. Whenever I do cooking, like tomorrow, like when we're done, I have to pack up my streaming computer and bring it upstairs
Oh,
and
gosh.
set up everything in the kitchen. I have a whole process for it now. Like I bring up my ring light. I have a separate ring light for the kitchen. Like so I do that, but I have 8 camera. Yeah, 2 separate because I have a loud stitching room back there
Yeah.
for my embroidery machines, and this is the quiet room. So yeah,
My house looks like a train station because everything is cabled into one streaming computer. That is one of our biggest beasts that I use for my streaming setup. So I made it so specifically I wouldn't have to deal with moving things. I was just like, I'm taping all the wires down.
Yeah.
How I had to experiment how far you could send a USB cord and how many times you can connect it before the connection goes really, really bad.
mm-hmm.
Oh,
And how many USBs you can have plugged into one port?
Oh.
Into one port and then have
Yeah.
multiple
Yeah.
ports.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
have
That was the same thing that I
Yeah.
was learning. Like that you get signal loss as soon as you extend beyond 10 feet, and then you have to have like an actively like powered extension
Yeah.
Yep.
for
Yeah.
every certain amount of
Yep.
feet that you go after that.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a whole
60
bunch of
feet is
those.
very hard to.
It is. I have
that's-
2 USB powered
Oh my god. yeah.
Mhm.
hubs. I have a 1080p webcam up here. This is my DSLR. I actually am about to get another DSLR so that I
Mhm.
can get a Blackmagic 4-port HDMI direct so that I'm not using like a cam link or anything like that. I mean, I'm trying to find a sponsor. Right?
Yeah.
This is like
Yeah.
$4,000 worth of equipment.
Expensive.
Yeah.
Because I want to
Yep.
be able to create that content and that's the thing. When you get to a certain point, then you're like, this isn't enough. I
Yep.
want to be able to show this in a much better way.
But you do think it's viable for somebody to start out.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah, because so like I know we're scaring people with like, hey, look at our big gigantic
Yeah, because
setup.
the question
But-
was like, do you think the logo was
Yeah,
like,
yes.
is it
No,
good for
yes.
somebody to start
The
out now? And then you're
answer
like,
is
and
yes.
we have these elaborate.
Well, we're just showing you the future, the
The
now.
future when
You
like
can
4
start
years
with
from
one
now.
camera.
But
Right?
why don't
Camera's
you
all
need that?
Hmm?
You might, but that's up
But
to
why don't you need that for somebody starting out? Right? Is like,
right.
Oh, because it's like the biggest thing. Like you can have the best gaming. Like I think the best thing is like you can't gain an audience if you don't press start, and that's the biggest thing. Like ultimately, you slowly build up. Like my stream did not look this nice when I first started, and I had to slowly build up. Like build chat bot, build like modifications, and build all of this stuff. Like the biggest thing you need to do is to start it so you can work out what stream times works the best for
Mhm.
you, how like people in your audience like how to flow, what fits your personality the most, and everything else comes later, because once you have that community, like I wasn't able to afford a lot of the stuff that I had before, and I had like my tool shop was like half the amount of tools that I used to like had. And basically, by gosh darn it, I love my community so much. You guys like helped me build my creative repertoire. That's a good word. Repertoire. And it's something that you have to build over time. You have to reinvest in yourself and reinvest in like angles. You have to actually go in, and I say this for any streamer, and it's not just for creative. You have to actually start streaming so you can watch yourself once the VOD is done, when you can look back and see, hey, what do I do that might make people think I'm annoying? What do I need to stop? What do I need to start doing? What cues do I need to do? Like, that's just anything. Like, if you're a gaming streamer, if you're a creative streamer, if you're a music streamer, you just have to start.
Now that's actually a really good point. Loco, is there another place that you can get those kinds of tips and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, we do a show called The Stream Doctor that we can review your VODs and get that type of advice to you.
Whoa!
Yeah, right here on StreamerSquare. It's crazy.
What a convenient coincidence. But seriously, like, it's a valid question that Hunter asked. Like, we're like, oh, we have all this big equipment. I'm talking about spending all this money. Spending the money is not going to get you an audience.
Nope.
Showing who you are and what your work you're doing will get you an audience.
Yes.
Then once you have an audience,
buy an audience.
Right. You can improve how your content is displayed, not that your content is displayed.
Yes.
And you can also have children while you try to stream.
That's a really good point. Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, other responsibilities. Oh goodness.
I'm also available for streaming while a parent.
Yes, we'll have to talk about that at some point. But yeah, so that's gonna wrap it up for us today anyways, guys. Imperial, Banzai, thank you guys so much for joining us. Dang it, you guys are all shuffled now because of Banzai dropping out earlier.
I'm so sorry.
I'm just happy.
Right.
I'm just happy.
I swear, I'm just fighting with my internet provider. It's been this like for the past.
Enjoy your new names, guys. Enjoy your new names.
Okay.
Guys, shout out your channels.
Nice. I'm Imperial.
Yeah, Imperial. Where can we find you? What are you doing?
Well, you can find me at twitch.tv/thehunterwild, where I will be selling coffee, be super musky, and play the best of games. I'm awesome. My cat's adorable. And I mean, quite frankly, I'm a great dude. So make sure you follow me.
Wow.
Perfect.
See you at whenever I'm live next.
All right, who's next? Banzai?
Well, I do a lot of sewing, and it's just, I love my children, I love my dogs, and if you want to go ahead and come in, and the dark side has cookies. Let me just go ahead and tell you, the dark side has cookies.
That's a fact.
And if you want to go ahead and have somebody here to tell you what's what and to keep you straight and also nerd out with you and do all the cosplay, you should go ahead and check me out. I'm Imperial Girl.
Perfect.
This is the best outro of all time. I just want to put that out there.
Hunter?
Loco gets it so easy. Loco, switch with me.
Come on, Hunter. What does Banzai do? Can you please encapsulate?
I have the biggest little studio you've ever seen. A genius at networking rigs and cameras and production value. These hands are the hands of a crafter of godlike skill that you can find on twitch.tv/BanzaiBaby. Boom. Streaming at fill in the blank. I don't know when you stream. What are your days and times?
Oh, me almost every day except for Friday, because then I'm on Gen Con.
Because there's Gen Con.
Yeah, I'm on Gen Con TV.
Gen Con TV.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you guys.
Yeah, no, very good.
Thank you guys for joining us. You can find me twitch.tv/loco. I am me. And I am.
Don't lie to the people.
That's a good song, though.
I am me. And I'm playing Outer Worlds. Because I love it. It's great. It's a lot of fun.
It's such a good game. It's such a good game. Sorry.
No, it's great. If you guys enjoy the show, we are here every single Monday, starting at 5 p.m. Eastern time. If you guys enjoy this content, we have a bunch of other shows here on the stream, and apparently everyone's dabbing. So, damn you guys.
Loco dab.
No.
I never put my arm out enough. My kid. Oh, I can floss. The kids do not like that I can floss.
The show is derailing.
Wait, now can you tie that into the dab? Can you get like?
But I can't. I'm about to shut this thing down.
Dab, dab. She's gonna dab us out.
Dab us out.
Dab us out.
Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next time on the stream scene. I am about to fire everyone. Goodbye.
What just happened?
Cooped up, I ain't left my